Hello and welcome to DDOcast episode 267, recorded live on January 20th, 2013. I'm your host, Siegfried Trent. With me is lovely producer and wife, Anne Trent. Hello, darling.
Hi, everybody.
And also from DDO Gamer, we have Jeff Hanna.
Hello, DDO world.
DDOcast is about Dungeons & Dragons Online, made by and for fans of the game. We do live shows most Sunday afternoons around 4 p.m. Pacific Time. You can listen live and hang out in our chat room through G+ Hangouts or on the website at DDOcast.com live. You can watch the recorded shows on YouTube or listen to them on iTunes as we post showtimes, updates, and game news on Facebook, Twitter, and G+ as DDOcast. All that and more, always available on DDOcast.com. If you want to be a part of the show or just say hi, you can leave a voicemail at the toll-free YARK line, 1-855-DDO-YARK, or email us at ddocast@gmail.com. As always, we're looking for guests, show segments, and topics of interest. On the podcast this week, we got game news, epic education, discussions of dragons, community news, and a bit more. So let's get started, as we always do, with the game news of the week. Account maintenance is happening on January 22nd from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. This means no changing your credit card or making DDO store purchases with your credit card, such as buying Turbine points during that time. So just so you know, if something seems strange, it's all according to plan. Augment slot system has been previewed, and we'll go into a little detail on that. Tolero posted a sneak peek of the new augment system shortly after we were fumbling around talking about it last week. We didn't really know exactly what it was, but we had sort of beat around the bush a little bit, but shortly after that she revealed exactly how it works. So we'll look at that. Mostly this is kind of reading from what she posted. It says, today we wanted to give you a sneak peek of one of the upcoming features in Update 17, Augment Slots. This new system that allows further customization of your equipment. An item with an augment slot can have an augment placed in it. A slotted augment bestows an additional effect of the item for as long as it is slotted. So augment slots will be introduced on some new named items, and randomly generated items have a 5% chance of having an augment slot. So unlike the ones before, this is kind of a combination of the guild augment system, which we had that showed up on random items but required you to be in a guild, and the system where if you have an epic item, it has these little colored slots on it that you can put different powers in. So kind of bringing these together, unifying them to one augment slotting system, has nothing to do with guilds anymore. And it isn't just found on epic items, and so that's kind of how it goes. Let's see, augment slots will appear in one of 7 different colors now, so instead of I'm not sure how many there were before, but they're similar to the epic ones. So there's a colorless slot, which can hold colorless augments, and colorless augments can be found on just about any type of item. There are red augment slots, which can hold colorless or red. The reds can be found on weapons, shields, and handheld items. And the reason the colors are often slotted to the items is they still try to maintain a certain amount of these kinds of powers are found in these kinds of places, especially when it comes to weapons and shields. It doesn't make as much sense to have some odd things on there. Blue augment slots can hold colorless and blue augments, and they can be found on armor, robes, outfits, shields, and offhand items. Yellow augment slots hold colorless or yellow. And the yellow ones are found on rings, necks, boots, belts, gloves, eyewear, helmets, bracers, cloaks, and trinkets. The purple ones can hold colorless blue or red. They're kind of especially good that way. And they can be found on weapons, shields, and other handheld items. Oranges can hold colorless red or yellow, as you might expect. And they can be found on weapons, shields, and other handheld items. And finally, green can hold colorless blue or yellow, and those can be found on armor, robes, outfits, and accessory items. So really we're talking about, even though there's 9 different kinds of slots, there's really only 4 different types of augments. Colorless, red, blue, and yellow. Let's see. So how do these things work? When you want to use an augment, you double-click on it from your inventory. Then a barter shop style window will pop up, allowing to that augment will appear on screen. So this is kind of like a portable, I don't know, crafting station in a way. So you don't need to go anywhere specific to use these things. Place the item you want to augment, which needs to have the appropriate slot. Select the slot to place the augment in, and then hit the augment button, and presto, you'll need to select a recipe even if there's only one available. Just a little UI issue there. Your item gains the augment's effect. So bang, you put your augment in the augment slot, and your weapon has been, or item, or whatever has been modified. At any point, you can replace the augment you have slotted by placing a new one in the same slot. New augments overwrite old ones, and you don't get the old one back. So you can replace, but there's kind of no going back to what you had before. Every augment has an associated level requirement to use it. The common non-named augments move up in increments of 4 levels. So at level 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, and 24. Slotting any augment also increases the slotted item's minimum level to the level of the slotted augment, as long as that augment is slotted, unless the item's minimum level already is equal or higher. Right, so let's say you have a level 6 sword, and it's got an augment slot, and you throw a level 8 augment in there, boom, it's a level 8 sword. If it was a level 8 sword and you had a level 4 augment, it's not going to change anything. So whichever one is higher, that's the one you'll end up with. Acquiring augments. So where do you get these things? Augments are unbound and can be found 5% of the time from treasure chests, and since they are unbound, you can trade them, put them on the auction house, that sort of thing. Lahar, the epic trader in the 12, will sell some augments. Their costs are in Epic Dungeon and Epic Raid tokens are lower than the previous cost. So nowadays it's like 20, 25 to get an augment slot filled. It's going to cost less than that. Probably depends a little on the level of the augment. Level 12, 16, 20, and 24 augments will be found in the ruins of Giant Hold in exchange for ancient elven, giant, and dragon relics in the various epic versions and very epic versions thereof. So if you have elven, giant, and dragon relics, you might want to dust those off because they could be a little more handy. Augment slots will be found on many named items in random treasure, and they are compatible with Cannith crafting. And what that means is if you take one of your items and you stick it in a Cannith crafting, you deconstruct it, the slot will stay through to the new item. So you get to keep the slots on the things that you deconstruct when you're making the blanks. Let's see. When found on loot gen random items, the augment slot replaces one of the values that the item would have otherwise had in the power of its enhancement bonus, prefix, or suffix. So most random items have got those three things, an enhancement, a prefix, and a suffix. And these slots will actually take the place of one of those things. So in a way, I don't know, that's one thing that's different than the guild system. Those were kind of bonuses that you would get on the item. But now it's going to actually kind of take up room, you might say, in the abilities. So it's customizable. It's sort of one of its parts you can alter. Let's see. Colorless augment slots take up +1 of the item's total enhancement value. Blue, red, yellow are +2. Purple, orange, and greens cannot be found on random treasure. They're only found in named treasure. So only in fixed items are the multicolor slots. So that's how that works. Augments and augment slots are fully compatible with Cannith crafting. Right, we talked about that. And again, they're still going to carry over those +3s, that sort of the +1, +2, etc. on the level of the item. So that's something to keep in mind. So what about your old epic augments? Well, they've decided the best way to transition to the new style is to allow everyone to do it at their own pace. So keep in mind that the old style epic augment crystals will no longer be available after update 17, although they will not function in the new slots. To convert an old epic item to use the new slots, place the item you would like to convert on the altar of epic rituals along with 50 Sybaris dragon shard fragments. That performs the cleansing ritual, which updates the item to the new type of slots and presumably clears out anything that's sitting in there already. This converts the augment slots to the new system. They retain their colors, can set new augments, but will no longer use epic augment crystals. So if you have any of those lying around, they're not going to be very useful. This process will remove all the currently slotted epic augments in the item. And may also remove other modifications such as Stone of Change recipes. So you're really kind of getting a new version of the item. You aren't forced to update old epic items. If you're happy with your current item, you can keep it. Don't use the cleansing ritual on it, and you're in good shape. You'll keep whatever abilities you already have. So I think that's a real nice way to handle that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Cool.
So I think it's pretty cool. So before we get into what kind of augments are available, which is kind of a long list, we'll skim through it. I don't know, what are your thoughts on this system, Jeff?
Well, my first thought is, how expensive is it going to be to get the new things? Because it does, it does affect your minimum level. I don't know, so much. It's hard for me to place emphasis right now. Is emphasis supposed to be on end-game level weapons, or is it supposed to be on low levels as you TR? I guess that's a playstyle kind of question.
Yeah.
I like the idea that it allows you to kind of gradually power up a weapon as your character does. If you're a casual player, that's just kind of very handy for you, I would think.
Mm-hmm.
So I logged into Lamania just to get an idea of the prices, and I checked out Lehar. And, yeah, the old Epic stuff is, I mean, at just glance, it looked like they're all still there. It looks like they didn't, take any away. And they're cheaper. So stuff that used to cost 30 Epic tokens now is only going to cost 20. There were a few things that only cost, like +1 exceptional ability is now only 5 Epic tokens. Overall, I think it'll be a fun thing. I don't know that I find it to be I'm so excited I can't wait for update 17 because of the new augments.
No.
But I think on balance, it's a plus.
Yeah, generally, I think it's probably a little bit better. The guild augments were just a little bit too much of a pain to use. It was nice because they were a pure bonus, but you had to, keep a bunch of them and add them in all the time. And I like that these are permanent. They don't expire. You just get them in there and they stick around. So that's nice. I'd mentioned on the last show a little bit about them being temporary, but that's just because I wasn't aware there are already these kind of temporary augments that help your weapon do silver damage and fight demons and things like that. And so that's not really part of this new system particularly. That's just an old mechanic that was there that I had never heard of because I don't do a whole lot of... I mean, it takes me a long time to collect 20 Epic Dungeon tokens, probably, maybe get that money in a month or something, just because I don't run that many of those quests. But
well, that's an important thing to mention because those temporary ones come out of Epic Devil Assault, and they're the main reason to run it because they're really nice, and they last for like 100 hours, which is, I mean, yes, it's technically temporary, but I mean, 100 hours is a long time.
Yeah.
And they're going to stop coming out of Devil Assault because, and they're not being replaced with anything yet because they don't want to have temporary in the new system. And I guess they forgot about Devil Assault. I don't know. So
that's too bad.
Yeah, so that'll be the end of that.
Yeah, one of the downsides. Well, hopefully they'll come back. I mean, it would be nice if they just made some that were like that or something. I don't know. Or they could do them as some kind of a spell. That would be good too. Same effect, but throw them on there. I don't know. Interesting. Yeah, so those are the things that I didn't really know about before, but this isn't anything like that. These are permanent, but you can kind of swap them out at will. I like the swapping out at will. That's nice because I often, if I'm going to spend 20 Epic Dungeon tokens on something, I want it to be, something I'll use for a long time. But then you get a different piece of gear, and suddenly you don't need that bonus anymore, and that's kind of a bummer. So this is a little more flexible, which I like.
And I completely agree that they're superior to the guild augment system.
Yeah.
Partly because I like getting away from having to have a massively high guild level to be competitive too. So that it's easier to use. You don't have to have a stone of change on your guild ship. You don't have to go buy a giant stack of these augments. So I definitely see it as an improvement over that system. In my mind, it's more of a comparison with the Epic system. And I think it's an improvement over that too. I mean, what's fun about remembering to buy the right color catalyst, and that didn't add anything to the game except complexity, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I think it's a plus.
Cool. Got any thoughts there, Dawn?
Yeah, I'm kind of glad they revisited the system because both on the Epic side and on the Guild side, it was pretty moot or useless, as I'd like to say. They have this mechanic, and people weren't really doing anything with it. On Epic one, people did do stuff with it, but then we got Epic levels, and then of course people just started moving away from them because oftentimes the random loot was far better than the Epic level of these crafted Epic level items. So, and plus the named Epic level items were also better because you can get like Epic normal version up to Epic elite version of, say, a couple of named items out in the Menace of the Underdark area, which were far better. So, but I'm interested to see what kind of new augmentations there will be, and what the minimum levels will be. As we know that pre-update 7, all augment items were minimum level 20. And I would like to see like a list of which augment item is going to work with which minimum level, because it kind of changes how you play the game and what kind of items you equip and how to free up your slots. Because a number of times I would sit there trying to figure out what kind of gear setup I need to have for a particular character and at what level. So.
Yep. And yeah, I think it allows for a lot of expansion in the future. Speaking of what you get at what levels, we're gonna do a little survey of that. We're not going to read this whole list because it's really long, but suffice to say there are quite a few. So we'll talk about some of the colorless ones first. These are kind of your generic, goes on pretty much any kind of item crystals, or augments as they're calling them. So let's see, no minimum level. Basically, you can get +1 to any different stat that you would like. At minimum level 4, you're getting +2 to a stat. These are enhancement bonuses, so that, they're kind of like your typical stat bonus item. Level 8s, you get the +3. Level 12s, you get the +4. Now, these are definitely like you could normally get those things earlier, but they're kind of customized, so these aren't exactly what you'd call twinking. Level 16, you get the +5s. At level 20, you get the +6 stat bonus for enhancement, and then you can get +1 exceptional bonuses, which will stack with those. Level 24, you get the +7s and the +2 insight bonuses, and then that seems to be where it stops at the moment. So you can't quite get up to the +8s, which you can find on random items, and the +3 insights, but just short of that. So it looks like these bonuses are just a little bit short of what you would get on random items. And then the red slots, these ones I believe mostly go on kind of handheld items and shields and armor, if I'm not recalling, but we'll see. Anyway, the no minimum level, you can get +1 on fire, cold, electricity, acid damage, that kind of thing per hit. So kind of the touch effect, as they call it, fire touch, etc. +30 spell power to an element, and yeah, so all the different spell powers are available there. I've never seen repair rust before, the rust part. That's kind of interesting. It's listed +30 repair/rust. At minimum level 4, you get 1d2 elemental damage, 42 spell power. Then at level 8, you're looking at 1d3, 54 spell power, and then they also have the basic, law, chaos, or evil damage types that you can throw in, which will modify the damage type on your weapon. It's kind of handy.
Is that how you pronounce that? Basic?
Yeah, basic. I don't know.
Basic?
Yes.
I think Anne is closest there. Basic sounds about right. But
yeah, that one's been annoying me for years.
Yeah.
If you know the pronunciation, you should give us a call on the 1-800 number line and pronounce it for us. How about that?
See, minimum level 12, you get 1d4 fire, acid, cold, etc. damage. Still not real exciting, I would have to say, for weapon damage at level 12. You get the good damage flag. That's actually really handy. Or adamantine damage, which is pretty handy too. 66 spell power. At level 16, you're looking at 1d6 damage. You got cold iron, which is curious because usually that's one that comes a little lower levels. Alchemical silver, always very handy. And then 78 spell power. Then at level 20, you've got 1d8 damage, plus 90 spell power. Level 24, 1d10 damage, or 114 spell power. So again, a little short of the random items of similar level, but well short when it comes to the weapon damage. I'm not sure I would use those very often. Blue augments. No minimum level. We've got +1 natural armor, +1 protection, +1 resistance, +2 physical resistance rating, that's a PRR. Light fortification, or +5 hit points. So then, and these things are going to, basically the same stuff is going to go up at each level. So minimum level 4, you got +2 natural armor, protection resistance, +4 physical resistance, moderate fortification, which is really good at level 4. I'm kind of surprised. Most of these are kind of a little worse. That's like better. +10 hit points. Then level 8, you get heavy fort. So that actually makes it as cheap as like a race restricted heavy fortification item. So
that's nice.
Yeah. And that's just going to slot in on something, so that's pretty great. Many more people will be able to get heavy fortification a lot easier. Anyway, +3 to the natural armor protection resistance stuff, 6 physical resistance rating, 15 hit points, level 12, you get in the +4s, 8 PRR, you can get a +1 luck bonus, which applies to, I believe, skills and attack bonuses. +1 maximum armor dex bonus, to increase the dex range on your armor. Not quite as valuable as that used to be, but -5% arcane spell failure. That's kind of a fun thing to be able to slot, and 20 hit points. Well, level 16, you get the +5s on the resistance, protection, etc. 10 physical resistance, -10 arcane spell failure, 25 hit points. Level 20, you get +6s on the resistance, protection, etc. You get Good Luck +2 available there. 15 Arcane Spell Failure, +2 on the Max Dex bonus, 30 hit points, and finally at level 24 you get the +7s, 14 PRR and 35 hit points, and nothing else on that one. No weird stuff. So that's one of the more.
I'm sorry. So now, when you find these loot gems, they take the place of a prefix or a suffix, right? But it's also Kneath crafting compatible. So does that mean you strip it down, you can still put a prefix, a suffix, and an augment?
Let me check my notes. There was something a little bit about that. One moment. I'm guessing no, but
yeah, could you accidentally create like a minimum level 30 weapon that way, which wouldn't be real helpful?
Well, yeah, no, it's interesting. It's not explicit here, although what it does say is when on a craftable item, a colorless slot adds +1 to the item's total enhancement value. Red, blue, yellow adds +2. Purple, orange, and green, if at some point they're available, would be +3. Which it said otherwise, but I'm not sure. That'll be very interesting. If it doesn't take up a slot, which I'm guessing maybe it doesn't, then that would make crafted items with these pretty valuable.
Yeah.
Yeah. Meaning pretty much anytime you get a random one, you'll break it down and rebuild it if you have crafting. Which, to me, would give me a reason to craft things, so that would be nice.
Yes. Yeah, that would actually be quite handy. The minimum level thing is going to be, though, I don't know if it may not make it competitive because, if now it's trying to compete with minimum level 22 stuff, you're still going to run into troubles, I think. But
I guess so, but you get that thing where you can, depending on what kind of other things you wanted on there anyway, you get more variety. So you get 3 different effects on a cloak or something. That might actually be really useful to you.
Yeah.
Cool. I like that. All right, so the yellows, no minimum level. We've got elemental resistance +5 and 10 spell points or striding 5. So there's kind of the pattern on these. These are sort of, protection-y type things. So level 4, we've got +10 on elemental resistances, which is nice. +25 spell points, underwater action, feather falling, proof against poison +2 or disease +2, striding 10%. Min level 8, you get the 15-point resists, 50 spell points. You can get poison or disease +4, not too exciting. Blindness immunity, fear immunity, striding 15. So a lot of the things you might normally craft on items, kind of cool. Level 12, you got the +20 resist, 75 spell points, +6 versus spell, disease, poison, death block, striding 20. Up at 16, you're getting 25% resistances, 100 spell points. Now you can get a spell focus on an item at level 16. Striding 25. At level 20, you get the striding 30, 150 spell points, 30-point resists. Kind of a little late for 30-point resists, I think, in many ways, but whatever. +10 for poison or disease. I don't know many people who bother to equip stuff with that on it, but min level 24, +35 resists, 200 spell points, which is pretty good, and greater spell focus, which is often pretty desirable, although not hard to get necessarily. So that's that. Those are I think the ones that actually excite me the most are probably the blue ones and maybe the red ones.
I think it's interesting that the heavy fortification is coming early, but death block is coming late.
Yeah, that is real curious. Where was death block again? That was at level 12.
Yeah.
Sounds about right. You can run into it before then, but that's when you really start to need it. I'd say fortification is useful at all levels. It's pretty handy. If anything, sometimes at the higher level, I find actually, once you get if you have a character with 1,000 hit points, I've occasionally forgotten my heavy fort item and not noticed all that much because you only get crit every once in a while, and you have a big pile of hit points anyway, and you're getting hit for huge amounts. Anyhow, you just don't notice as much. But
I bet your cleric noticed.
Maybe. Well, I heal myself. It's not too bad.
Well, having death block is good because we didn't have it before, not an augment on an augment crystal. So.
Right.
Yeah, no, it's a handy thing. It's one of those things I try to get some source of death block for any and all characters because, and when I forget it, I notice. I'm like, oh, I died. What happened? Oh, yeah. Finger of death. What do you know? So that's the augment stuff, and that's all part of Update 17, which is on Lamania. And right now, they put it up this weekend. It's called Return to Giant Hold. That's kind of the name of the update, I believe. And it's all about Giant Hold, although the changes extend well beyond that. So we'll go over a little bit of the release notes here. Giant Hold is now available for epic level characters in addition to heroic level characters. The mysteries of the Draconic Prophecy await you. Watch for raid nights on Lamania on the announcements forum if you want to participate in those and try it out. While previewing on Lamania, we highly recommend you try Giant Hold, both heroic and epic versions. They are not the same, so the quests are different depending on what level your characters are. Raid and quest flagging mechanics have been changed for heroic and epic versions of Giant Hold. You must now complete the following quests for raid flagging. Cabal for 1, Prison of the Plains, and Madstone Crater. You will notice that a certain quest, Crucible, is no longer on the list. Probably because it's kind of a pain in the ass. They wanted to make this a little more accessible. Some people are kind of sad about that. I'm getting a little bit of echo here.
Jeff's mic. He needs to turn it down.
Okay.
There we go.
All right, cool. Sounds good. So, I don't know if anybody has thoughts on that. The switch out Cabal for 1, which is kind of a short, fairly easy quest for good old Crucible, which is one of the more interesting quests in the game, but also can be incredibly difficult for some people because of the swimming part.
Well, I think the primary difference is that all 3 of these, at least it's theoretically possible to solo them.
That's true, yeah, which is an important change, I think.
Right.
Yeah, so if they had to choose between changing Crucible and taking it off the list, I'm glad they took it off the list, because I like having it around.
We can still run it. We just don't have to, but we still get to.
Yeah. I mean, because it's worth pretty good XP. If you can run it, if it's not a problem for you, then it's worthwhile doing it. So, yeah, cool. It has some good items in there, too. Let's see, you no longer need to turn in epic relics, or turn in relics at all as part of the quest progression, so relics can now instead be used to barter with NPCs for new treasure. That's all kinds of good. Players who had not previously completed Cabal for 1 may need to run this quest before they can play the raid, even if they were previously flagged for it. So if you were flagged before, you might have to go run Cabal for 1. And most people would probably run it, but yeah, maybe on TRs and stuff you skip it. So, but that doesn't exactly take very long. Epic Dragon Scale armor is now available for red, white, and what is it? Red, white, blue, I believe.
Black, white, and blue.
Black, white, and blue. There we go. Yeah, that's right. Red was already there. So that's pretty cool. No longer possible to turn in outdated Dragon Scale armor in exchange for scales. That's something they had before. Epic version of the landscape features random encounters, kind of like the new adventure areas do. Feast or Famine got changed. They moved a treasure chest around. They fiddled around with the quest. Nothing terribly exciting there. They did Lamania character wipes, which I saw that people were very happy about. I guess they hadn't done that recently, which made it hard for people to run the epic stuff without their epic level characters. Let's see. It says, note that we performed a wipe of existing characters. You need to create new characters or import existing ones using the character copy tool. Characters whose character data is not properly updated in my DDO may have copy problems using the tool. Crystal Cove is being previewed as well. You can check out the latest version of Crystal Cove, which also supports epic levels now, and the star objectives have been updated. I'm not sure exactly how, but apparently they have. And then we talked about the augments already, which is another major thing they're doing. And then kind of the final item of note is items. Improvements have been made to curse spewing and improved curse spewing and Vorpal weapon effects. These I thought were kind of interesting. Curse spewing is changing. It used to be basically you hit somebody, they get a saving throw. If they miss their saving throw, they get cursed. Cursed is -4 to your saving throws and your attack values, I believe. But now what it does is this item now only applies on a natural 20, so basically on a Vorpal, but no longer has a saving throw. In addition to its previous effects, Curse now causes the victim to take 1d6 damage every 2 seconds, and the curse has a duration of 12 seconds. Additional curse spewing procs will add 12 seconds to the remaining duration, so it kind of stacks up. Improved curse spewing, very similar. It's on a 20 only, and oh, I'm sorry, Jeff. The typing is really loud. Okay. Only applies on a natural 20. No longer has a saving throw. Also deals. The victim will deal 4 less damage with its melee and range attacks. takes 2d6 damage every 2 seconds. The curse now has a duration of 12 seconds. And again, it kind of stacks on. And Vorpal weapons are changing by adding 0.5 dice damage to the basic attack. So it's a plus 1/2 W on whatever weapon has Vorpal. So just to give it a little more meat, it kind of become completely useless effect for the most part. People didn't use it at all. So that should help a little. I'm not sure if it balances it out with some of the other abilities, but it's not bad. It's like 1d3 damage plus then probably an average of 5 damage per hit due to the 100 you get on a 20, and occasionally, every once in a while, at high level, you might kill something. At lower levels, you'll kill something on a 20 occasionally. So not too bad. Let's see. So I don't know. Let's talk a little bit about that. We were talking about with my guildies. They thought it sounded kind of interesting. I think maybe it's a little better for endgame for curse spewing, improved curse spewing, but I suspect people still won't use them very much.
I don't know. I kind of like curse spewing. I use it a lot. I especially like it on like smiters.
Oh, okay.
I see it as kind of a wash, really.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't know. Is it more likely that you're going to against higher save guys? It's more likely you're going to hit it now, right? Against lower save guys, you're losing some.
Yeah, I think so. That's
a wash.
Yeah. So a little weaker at lower levels, but a little better at higher levels.
It does still affect their saving throw, right? Because that's the thing I like about it the best.
Yeah, it's the same curse effect as before. It just also comes with these additional effects, either the reduced damage on the improved curse spewing, and then each one has a little bit of a dot associated with it as well.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
What's the type of the negative of the
damage?
deduction? Yeah, the type of the.
Usually, there's no type on penalties, so
these are untyped penalties.
Yeah.
So they'll stack with other things, right?
Yeah, they always have, and they'll continue to do so. So yeah, like with symbol of weakness or things like that, it'll stack with those.
Nice.
Yeah. I don't know. It sounds okay. I think if you like curse spewing before, you'll probably still kind of like it. But I use it on occasion. I use it on casters and stuff like that sometimes. So the curse spell itself, we had talked about this on our guild. That's not changing at all. So if you use the curse spell, that hasn't changed at all. Although I haven't met a lot of people who actually use that spell, because if you're going to spend the spell points to throw a curse on somebody, you could probably finger death them. So doesn't make a lot of sense. Final upgrade for the weapon from the raid Caught in the Web has been unveiled. Augment slots can now be added to each weapon at the Purple Dragon Knight Favor representative, so I'm sure people who have run the raid a few times are happy about that. Dwarven Thrower can now be bound and attuned on a Stone of Change. Scepter of Ogre Magi now properly behaves as a one-handed weapon when attacking. That thing was always kind of funny. Madstone Range no longer applies the Shaken effect after it expires. Many old items that date from before Module 9 have been updated, redesigned, or otherwise buffed to be more useful to characters around the level of the quest that they are obtained from. The quest chains and quest packs have had their item revised, include the following quests. Waterworks, Firestone Inlet, Catacombs, Seal of Chanticor, Red Willow's Ruin, Tear of Drakron, Caves of Coromir, Gwendolyn's Stand, Assault on Splinter Skull, Stormcleave Outpost, Delira's Tomb, Sarudusk Isle, Ruins of Threnal, Restless Isles, Ruins of Giant Hold, Sands of Menectarin, Tempest Pine, Necropolis. So that's parts 1 through 4. So that's quite a lot of different items. There's all those kind of goofy little named items in there. I guess all that stuff is changing. So getting better, generally speaking. So that's kind of cool. I have no idea what any of those items are as far as what the new versions are, but I suspect they'll be better than the Grunt's old loincloth and some of the other junk that you could get that I've always gotten over the years and just thrown away. One thing to note, though, is the items, if you already have them, are not changing. The legacy items stay legacy items. If you want the new items, you got to go into these things and get them. Epic items generally have not been altered. The only raid that's included in this list is Tempest Spine. Other raids have not been altered, although I know they have plans to do some of them. In Tempest Spine, the items will now be considered raid treasure. This means that they are much more powerful than before, but will bind a character on acquire. However, the chance of any given raid item in Tempest Spine to drop has been increased from 1% per item per player to 10% per item per player. The majority of these item changes are not retroactive to existing items. Some aspects of the changes, such as the buff to weapon, damage dice, critical profiles, and armor base AC, will be retroactive to your existing items. However, added augment slots and other changed effects on items are not retroactive. So that's the deal. The fine print, as it were, on all that. So I'm happy to see that stuff be better. Some of it might be awesome. That would be great. If there's stuff worth going in those quests specifically to get, there hasn't been in a very, very long time.
I think there's likely to be a couple of items that become suddenly very valuable, because I'm noticing that, for example, and I don't know this is going to happen like this, but wouldn't it be nice, because I have several of these, the Axe Maelstrom from Tempest Spine, the way they're describing this upgrade process is physical attributes to the weapon are going to be retroactively applied, so it might suddenly be, a 2d10 axe with an improved critical range, but other aspects are not. For example, like bind a character on acquire. So, we might have some uniquely valuable low-level items at the end of this process.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah, whenever they do shuffle-ups like this, sometimes there's a few unintended consequences of these things that can be extra good. If they're too good, they tend to go away, but if not, they can hang around. I mean, I've still got some old non-minimum level stuff that I still throw to low-level characters, so
sure.
I always enjoy those. I was poked around a little bit to see what kind of beta test feedback they've been getting, and for the most part, it's all that I've seen has been very positive, especially the new raid. People were just raving about that. It's called the Fall of Truth. I'm guessing it may finally have something to do with the truthful one I've always kind of wanted to see.
Yay!
Yeah, that could be cool. I don't know if you fight it or not, but it's got something to do with it. But it's been getting rave reviews. That it's rare you go on the DDO forums and people are like, "Wow, this is my favorite raid ever. This is the greatest thing. The mission is incredible. Whoever did this should get a big raise." It's just all the kind of usual forum characters were all very happy about it. So that's pretty cool. Looking forward to it.
And a nice change of pace from, "Oh no, this is broken. Don't let it go live."
Right? Yeah. They're like, "Are you kidding? This is awful." Yeah. No. People are just like, "This thing is fantastic." So.
Any response on the loot from that raid?
I didn't see a lot of that. No, not yet.
No. Wink from our little DDO chat channel says it sucks.
Oh yeah. Well, that is possible. It's hard to.
I'm avoiding learning too much, so whenever I see anything about it, I just kind of read it. I don't want to know, but I want to know.
Right. Yeah, I was just looking to see what complaints were out there. There was certainly a thread about saving Cabal for keeping. Oh no, I'm gonna forget his name again.
Crucible.
Crucible, there we go. Keeping Crucible on the qualifying list. I don't think that's going to succeed, but there were people that were complaining about that. But hey. And that's about it. I didn't see a whole lot of complaints. There are a couple little things about items. I didn't get into detail on them, but yeah, I don't know. If there's a new raid that everybody loves, that'll be fantastic.
Yeah. I guess my only beef is that because there are so many they're starting to retrofit these quests for epic stuff. Mm-hmm. I really would love to see that these epic quests would have a separate repetition counter from their heroic versions.
Oh yeah.
Because what happens? No, they don't. Not right now. Not on Lamania. So we would want to see that reset, because we're getting different XP. It's a different quest, and it's at a different level. So it should be deserved to be reset for those levels. So.
Interesting. So you could run the raid on normal and then run it on elite, or on epic. It'd be a different timer. Oh, that's an interesting idea, although it's for the same character, so you presume they didn't be after the treasure from one or the other. But level 10 raid items, I wouldn't think normally be after with a epic level character. But yeah, still, anything for reducing the timers, I'm fine with. Let people grind things they want to grind. I don't know. That's my attitude.
Sure, yeah. But that's my biggest beef, is those repetitions.
Yeah. I was thinking maybe that this expansion would be there'd be a little more to it, but then again, I haven't tried it, so I don't know, that there's a whole new adventure area. Well, it's kind of the same adventure area, but it has different stuff in it, different monsters. Some people were complaining that the giants were a little spammy with a knockdown, and that could be kind of annoying for some characters. I can understand that. But there was always spammy knockdown stuff out in Giant Hold anyway, so... But I guess, there's some dragons out there in the wilderness area now. Just, it's a lot more dynamic and has some more exciting enemies and things to face. So it sounds like it'll be fun just to explore and do the collectibles. And a lot more points of interest out there. So a lot of XP, I'm thinking, too. If you're if you like doing explorer areas, you've milked all the epic ones. You'll have another way. So
it looked like one other difference is that you can now qualify to use the teleporter to go out to a section by having found it. You don't have to complete the related flagging quest anymore.
That's cool.
Well, I mean, that's just what I'm deducing because
Yeah.
I went out there for a little while. It's the same map.
Mm-hmm.
I went by the eye with a Storm Reach eye spot, and it awarded me that, you have found the teleport for the eye spot, although they said it better.
Yeah.
And the Mind Flayer is still there, but now he's ancient.
Uh-huh.
So that's about as far as I got, but it was fun.
He's
I
gotten
enjoyed
old.
it. There's really a lot more giants and a lot less of things that are easy to kill.
Yeah, that's cool. It's just nice to have more. I like the adventure areas in a way because I like to do them when I'm soloing or I'm just dorking around for a little bit of time. So the more of those that are out there, and it feels like there's a little few of them for epic levels at the moment. So happy to have more of that. Cool. There was no bug list or anything like that. Presumably, they fixed a bunch of bugs and are continuing to work on that kind of thing, but none of that were part of the Lamania release notes, so we'll see as time goes on. Bonus days we've got going on right now, +2 loot until January 21st, so that's +2 on your kind of loot rolls, which is always pretty nice. I definitely notice it whenever it's going on. So, but that ends tomorrow, or if you're listening to the recorded show a while ago. Unfortunately, the bonus days, they announced the new one like right after we do the show, so that doesn't work out so great, but so it goes. DDO store news, determine your discount is going on. That's the more turbine points you spend, the more money you can save. So they got various codes. You have to go look them up. But basically, if you spend 500 points, you can save 5%, 1,500, 15%, 25, 2,500 points, you can save 25% on whatever it is you're buying. So if you want to buy a big lot of stuff, it's a pretty good time to do that. Rusty's renders and golems are available until the 24th. 20% off of crafting items and midwinter spirit tokens. You can get free ones, 5 per account, using the code MWST05. Although in this case, you have to buy one of them 5 times. So you can use the code 5 times, but you only get 1 per code. So I went and did that. Groovy.
Nice.
Yeah, so that's the news for the week. So kind of nice to actually have some news for a change. And I don't know when this update's coming out, but I'm guessing pretty soon. It sounds kind of like things are fairly polished for a change. And
I would assume end of February on the birthday because they're going to bring out Crystal Cove again, which is the
that would make
birthday
sense.
area. So.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Cool. Yeah, that'll be great. I think I can keep myself amused till then, running the ice game. So yeah, once that's done, then we'll have something new to play with. That's great. And Crystal Cove is always a lot of fun. If you've never done that, if you haven't done it before, it's been gone for a little while. It's kind of the prototype of the challenge features that we have in the game now. But it's probably one of the most fun ones. It's very cute, and there's some cute pirate music, and it's got pirate-themed stuff, and it's got its own set of loot treasure that many of those items are actually pretty decent. Not as decent as when it first came out. It was like, woohoo, epics for everybody, it's amazing. But, now some of them are not quite as sexy as they once were, but still, they're pretty nice and pretty easy to obtain. So let's talk about DDO Gamerland, what you've been up to over there. You have a new series about dragons in the game and outside the game as well, to a little bit, and I thought they were awesome, so you want to tell us a little bit about them?
Oh, well, thank you. Actually, my timing was bad too. Much as we figure out, that much as they changed the store specials immediately after the show, they're now also changing the number of dragons in the game as soon as I finish writing about them. So, as far as I can tell, that's what Epic Giant Hold is Dragonland, and well, I don't have any of that. But what I do have is details on each color of dragon, a listing of all of the dragons in the game by name. With minor tips on how to help that might help a little bit with the encounter, a little background information in some cases, in other cases, where do you find the dragon, because it's not always straightforward, any special things that you need to be aware of. They're not walkthroughs, it's more like a program. It's a program of all the dragons. So there's blue, black, green, red, and white. Monday will be the spectral dragons. At some point, I'll take all of these articles and put them in one giant page or blog post of its own so that it's all just in one place instead of in 6. Plus, one really fun thing about this is that people have been reading them and giving me comments and helping me find the things I missed. So, there was a couple of dragons that were in challenges I'd forgotten about. So, okay, well, now I'm remembered. And, can't misspell things, got to get those spelled correctly. So I'm getting a lot of helpful hints from people who've been reading the articles. So when I do come out with the big blog post, it'll be even more accurate and up to date. That's a plus, and I really appreciate it when people, provide that kind of feedback because I want to be accurate. But overall, I love dragons. They're one of the bigger things that appeal to me in Dungeons and Dragons in general. I mean, they're certainly the iconic monster. People talk about beholders and mind flayers, but it's Dungeons and Dragons, and it always has been. And when I was reading Tolkien as a teenager, what was the cool part? A dragon. So I love dragons, and I didn't find it at all hard to write about them for a few thousand words, and I only wish I had time to write more. There are lots of amazing dragon stories in our culture and in our folklore, and not just in ours, but in everybody else's. So, had I had the time, this article could have been way longer. If it was based on the amount of love I have for the topic, I'd still be writing probably for weeks. I'm just kind of rambling now because that's what dragons do to me.
Well, it's okay, because I think it deserves to be rambled about, because in the beginning, when DDO first came out, there were no dragons. There was just dungeons.
That's correct. Dungeons and...
There was a Penny Arcade comic about that was pretty good. With the guys in the meeting room. Like, all right, so we're releasing Dungeons and Dragons. We got the dungeons already, right? Yeah.
Check.
All right, dragons. Are those ready? We got any dragons? No. I think we're missing something, guys. Yeah, so that was
well, and I accidentally mentioned that about 3 times in the course of the articles, including a chart. There's a color-coded chart that shows you the number of dragons over time. And it starts at 0.
Yeah. No, I love that chart. That was great. I was like, oh, hey, look, you did a little graphic with the things and that's so cool.
I had a lot of fun. I really enjoyed writing it.
They're great articles, and actually, I think the length was just about perfect for kind of casual browsing, right? For tooling around on the internet and looking stuff. And I was like, oh, I'll click on the next one. Oh, I'll read the next one too. And so I read them all in rapid succession because they're nice and bite-sized. They're just about perfect.
Well, I'm glad you enjoyed them. They were a lot of fun to write, and they seem to be getting pretty good feedback. So that's always rewarding too. Yeah.
You definitely got a lot of feedback on the forum from folks hunting them or remarking on what kind of treasure they drop and that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Well, it was cool. And there were dragons I had never heard of. I didn't even know about them because I hadn't run the particular challenge or that sort of thing. And I learned the only dragon without a name in the game.
Black Dragon. Mm-hmm. Good old Black Dragon. Poor guy. Wouldn't you hate to be Black Dragon? Oh, well, he's the abbot's kind of pet anyway, so his life is probably already not as good as it could be.
Aww, poor Black Dragon.
Poor Black Dragon.
He's one of the deadliest dragons in the game.
Boy, they should have him sit. Imagine if you're sitting in that iron cage and he was able to just start dousing you with his breath weapon.
Yeah, not good.
No, not good. So the other thing, and this is previewing DDO Gamer next week. I don't know everything I'm going to do next week. I usually don't know everything I'm going to do tomorrow, but I do know that. I went and found the specs for the new Dragon Scale armors because it's appropriate to what I was writing. That information was included in the Dragon articles as well. I'm liking the upgrades that are being done to the new Dragon Scale armors. I got to tell you, though, I'm a little disappointed that they're minimum level 25.
Yeah.
And the reason being, not because I think I deserve them earlier or anything, but I think it means they won't have a very long lifespan in the game. Because, next in February, something else is going to come out, and then in April, something else is going to come out, right? And then in June, something else. Well, now they're not the very best armor anymore. And since they're at the cap, nobody's going to... Well, why would you farm for them when you can go farm for the best armor? If they were lower minimum level, then they would still have a niche role to fill of, I'm going to wear them from 22 until 25, right? For example. Right? But when you put them at 25, I think it's going to limit how useful they're going to be in the long run, which is a shame because... they're fairly difficult to grind, and usually, I haven't seen the new ones yet. I don't know if they look the same as the old ones or not, but the old Dragon Scale armors, I think, are still, probably the best looking armors in the game.
Mm-hmm.
But I do know that, like I say, they're minimum level 25. You need 20 flawless scales of the appropriate color. You need 10 each of the new restored relics that drop in the Epic Giant Hold quests and adventure area. And you need 3 heroic commendations. So, achieving one of these sets of armor is not going to be a trivial task by any means. I didn't see anything about favor, and it looked like the vendor was perfectly willing to hand me a set of armor if I'd had the right stuff. So they might be a little bit easier than some of the Cormyrean stuff, but not by much.
Yeah.
So do you want to talk about the specific sets, any?
Yeah, sure. No, let's have a go.
All right. Well, they've kept up with having the white set be for tanks, the black set be for DPS, and the blue set be for casters. So the black set it's +7. It's got heavy fort. It's got +7 protection, +6 shield bonus, which is pretty nice. Superior cold resistance, comes with an empty blue slot, and it has a set bonus called Draconic Resilience. If you also have the helm, and I don't know if you need to have an epic helm or just the original other helm, you pick up 50 hit points that are of type artifact, which I assume is going to stack with everything.
Yeah.
I'm not aware of anything else that's type artifact. The blue set, also +7. Greater Spell Pen 9. So I think that's the only Greater Spell Pen 9 in the game, isn't it? I don't think there is one right now.
Yeah, as far as I know.
Greater Arcane Lore, Potency 80. General Potency 80. Superior Lightning Resistance, an empty blue slot, and the Draconic Mind, which, again, as part of a set, will give you 15 artifact spell power, universal spell power.
Nice.
Not so thrilled. I'm not sure the set bonuses are going to be a whole lot of people taking advantage of that, but the Greater Spell Pen 9 means the blue scale armor will be around for a while. The black set, I think, is probably, to me, the least appealing of the three. It's +7 enhancement. It's got a haste guard. It's got armor piercing 15%, which is actually kind of cool, but that exists on other things. Relentless Fury, which I think it already has on the Black Dragon scale. Superior acid resistance and an empty blue slot. The set bonus on this one is called Draconic Ferocity, and it gives you +3 double strike and +2 damage to ranged or thrown. And again, those are of type artifacts, so they're going to stack. That one, I'm not, as a DPS build, that doesn't thrill me a lot. The most of that is stuff that's already pretty easy to acquire, I think. But there you go. Something fun to quest for the next few weeks once this comes out. I know I'll be trying to at least get a blue set for my caster.
I don't think I've ever even made regular dragon scale yet.
Really?
Killed that many dragons. Yeah, Anne has some. I help Anne make the dragon armor. She gets the prestige things that you can collect.
Yeah.
My sorcerer wears the blue leather, and because it looks so nice, and it's cool. It's I can justify actually having it on her, but it looks so great. So.
Yeah, that's the one that you have, right, darling?
The blue robe, actually.
Oh, the robes. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you succeeded in acquiring your green yet?
I'm going to complete more Purple Dragon Knight favor this Tuesday. So.
Lovely.
Yep. Still working on the favor, and then I think we'll have to do the raid a couple times too.
Because of the heroic commendations.
Yeah.
Apparently, those also drop in the new raid as well.
Oh, so they're pretty much the same thing. That's neat.
It doesn't specify. Yeah, it just says heroic commendations. I assume it means the exact same ones, and now you can get them from 2 places.
Yeah, that's very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially if the new raid's a lot of fun. Caught in the web, people are kind of, I don't know. Most of the people I know are sort of meh about it. They'll run it, but they're not necessarily excited to do so.
The new raid? Really?
No, the Caught in the Web.
Ah, the old raid. Right.
Yeah.
Right. I understand. It's not bad. It's fun. But I'm looking forward to the new raid.
Yeah, me too. Especially just seeing people's comments about it. That could be pretty exciting.
So,
groovy. All right. Shall we roll on and do an Epic Education? Are we ready for that?
Sure.
Okay, let's hear it. Shamgar with Epic Education.
Hello and welcome to Epic Education, a show of tips and tactics for surviving epic content. I'm your guide Shamgar, and this is episode 26, The Lord of Blades Part 4, Dogtooth. During the majority of the Lord of Blades boss fight, you will have to deal with two large Iron Defender-style dogs. With the exception of the final phase, at the beginning of each phase of this fight, these dogs are restored to full health. It is certainly possible to kill the dogs at every phase. However, they do have a pile of hit points. Most groups prefer to kite them around until phase 4, and kill them when the assassins are reduced to 1 or 2 in number. Some groups will even opt to kite them all the way through the entire fight, and when the bridge goes up, they simply leave them on the platform. They are prevented from leaving it. The dogs don't hit too hard, even on Epic, and they do not have true sight, making displacement and blur a good idea. They do have 2 special attacks. In polite company, we refer to the first as dog goo, but various references to dog poo are available to those who are inclined to make fun of the attack. This attack is very similar to the grease attack that most Iron Defenders make, and in fact does have the same effect of greasing the floor, making walking difficult. However, this goo is green and has an electrical charge to it. The charge hits those within its area with a stacking electrical damage. Each time you are hit with this effect, it will increase the amount of damage being dealt to you by the next tick. Once you are clear of the field, this debuff will dissipate. This attack necessitates something to make you immune to slippery surfaces, like freedom of movement. Except when you are actively killing a dog, if you find yourself in dog goo, moving is highly recommended. On normal difficulty, the dogs will not start spewing goo until after you break them, at least once, and the goo field can be dispelled using break enchantment, and scrolls will work with 100% success. The second special attack is a wind type effect. The damage it does is fairly minimal, but the attack will attempt to knock you over. You are given a saving throw which is very reasonable to make, and they tend to use this attack when they are chasing someone. Both dogs will also regularly drop an area effect buff that will land on both the trash mobs and the Lord of Blades. This buff has 2 effects. The first reduces most incoming damage. The second is a fire guard. This buff can stack and last about 30 seconds, with the time being renewed each stack, and the dogs will typically toss this buff at or near the same time, but it does not affect either dog. Because the dogs are repaired constantly, most groups choose to kite them around until phase 4 after the assassins have been reduced in number to 1 or 2. Some groups will choose to kite the dog through the final phase and leave them behind on the platform. Unlike most kiting experiences, there is far more to kiting the dogs than just running around away from them. To do this job well, you need to pay attention to the little things. During phase 1, you need to pay attention to the party. They should be attacking the same trash together in a hunting pack, and you should be trying to keep the dogs away from them to allow swifter massacre. At the same time, you want to stay away from the Lord of Blades for the same buffing reasons. And finally, you need to be aware of where everyone else is, because you don't want to give them a patch of dog goo under their feet. Some groups will tend to attempt some coordination here and call for the Lord of Blades to be parked, say, around 1 o'clock, and the dogs to be kited on the opposite side, something like 4 to 10 o'clock. As much as you are able, you should endeavor to comply. However, it is your responsibility as the kiter to adjust to everyone else. During phase 2, your job will be considerably easier. The rest of the party will typically converge on a smaller part of the circle, usually at most a quarter of it. This gives you a lot more room to play in, and makes them much more predictable. On the other hand, the Lord of Blades will begin jumping into the air and landing. While there is usually someone in a party who will call out that this is happening, you should learn the audio cue associated with this. There is a cue for when he jumps and when he is landing, and both are directional. This means that if you are able to learn and pick up these cues, you can predict where he is going to land moments before he does. This gives you 2 advantages. First, it helps you not get squished like a bug or getting run over, which, when you're kiting 2 hungry dogs, can easily lead to death. The second is that you can position yourself in such a way as to prevent the Lord of Blades from getting a dog buff. To do this, you want to run to the opposite side of where he is going to land, and then run along the edge of the circle towards where he does land. This pulls the dogs to the edge, allowing the Lord of Blades to pass by outside of their range. And while we are on the topic, you should also try and learn the audio cue for the whirlwind attack. This will likely not come in your direction, since you shouldn't be close to the Lord of Blades, but this is when things tend to go awry quickly, and being ready for this possibility can improve your odds of survival. In Phase 3, things get a little nasty. Everything is the same except the addition of Rain of Blades. That's good though, because that's enough. This special attack also has an auditory cue, which once you learn it will give you a few seconds more warning than the 5 people screaming. Here's the problem. Unlike everyone else but the tank, you can't go to the center for safety. Doing so would all but ensure that the entire party get dog-gooed, which puts everyone in a lousy situation. This means you are stuck in the blades. These do have a reflex save to reduce damage, but these moments will be the most taxing and dangerous for you. Depending on the kiter's self-healing abilities and the difficulty, a healer will often be assigned to look after the kiter during this time. If your kiter is a Pale Master, make sure their healer has harm. If your kiter dies here, consider replacing them with someone with improved evasion to increase survivability, though their ability, or rather the lack thereof, to heal may be a consideration. During Phase 4, the main tank will sometimes come by and intimidate the dogs to take over kiting, freeing up the kiter to be more effective against the trash, although I find this to be mostly unnecessary when the kiter is a caster, as they do not lose much of their effectiveness while kiting. In fact, on normal or hard, I tend to start using my dots and spell-like abilities on one of the dogs, since I usually have some spell points to burn. Once the trash is cleaned up down to 1 or 2 assassins, it's time to kill the dogs. The cleanest way to do this is to have the main tank use Intimidate to grab the dog's aggro. If this is not an option, the kiter may need to stand still for a bit to allow someone to grab aggro. This works best if they are able to only grab one dog to reduce the amount of goo, but it's not necessary and can be tricky with Intimidate. Have the person with aggro, including the kiter if it is not yet switched, park somewhere where the Lord of the Blades isn't going to land. 1 to 2 people, usually the arcanes, should load break enchant scrolls and target this person to dispel the goo. The rest of the party should attack the dogs from the rear to minimize damage. If both dogs are here, then the party should focus on one of them to reduce the number of gooings and damaging to the tank. This will also help keep the aggro focused on the tank at this point. But if a dog turns around and your tank doesn't have Intimidate, that person can kite the dog away for a bit. If you do this right, you can heal this piece of the raid with mostly scrolls. So who makes a good kiter? Players with strong self-healing are ideal, though these folk should have someone looking after them during the blades on epic still. Casters, arcane or divine, are strong candidates as well because of their dots, which are good fire and forget aggro magnets, and can ramp up to good damage if the tank accidentally intimidates the dogs. Ranged characters are also able to more easily acquire aggro of the dogs, making artificers a strong choice as well. Characters with evasion are also great during blades as they will take less damage. Ninja monks can actually run on the water during the blades as well. Note that the dogs can actually throw their goo with impressive range and into the arcane sludge. Also noteworthy if you leave them alive, as they can in fact reach the shrine. Let's close by discussing a bunch of tricks. First, jump casting is important as a caster, so jump and featherfall are both good. Particularly if you have few heal options. Pale Masters, I'm looking at you. Let your hit points go down a ways during the blades. Try and use every ounce of that heal or harm. I actually save my spell power clickies for during the blades to further aid my self-healing. If I have one handy, I fire off a False Life one right before the blades. Keep any buffs you can going that boost your reflex saves during Phase 3. Greater Heroism, Night Shield, and Inspire Heroics are some good examples. Kiting is your primary focus. Worry about that first. Having said that, look for other ways you can contribute. As a Divine Kiter, I have kited in a route that allows me to dump heal scrolls into the main tank or take care of reses. My Artificer usually ranges, and my casters use their SLAs to shoot Lord of Blades once he's parked. Don't pull aggro here. Getting changed in goo is not fun, and it can be difficult for the tank to get aggro back. Try not to run in straight lines. The circular shape of the platform will help. Making lots of turns will help you avoid the dog's knockdown attack. I tend to think of the area in terms of quarters and kite within those pie wedges, switching wedges to avoid Lord of Blades or if there's too much goo. At the beginning of each phase, when the dogs are called over by Lord of Blades, they will return to you unless someone else grabs their aggro in the interim. Usually the tank has intimidated them. In case this happens, don't go wild with the damage to grab their initial aggro. This way, if they are intimidated, you will not have to overcome as much threat from the Intimidate to re-establish aggro. That will end this week's Epic Education. If you have any questions, comments, or corrections, you can email me at ddoepiceducation@gmail.com or visit my DDO blog at my.ddo.com/pjstechie. Join me next time as I continue discussing the Lord of Blades. Thanks for listening.
Cool. And thanks very much, Shamgar, for that. It was a good one. I got just a little more to go on Lord of Blades. I'm guessing one more segment, but we'll see. Pretty cool stuff. Yeah, the dog goo is quite exceptional stuff. It's high quality, shall we say. I haven't run that raid in a little while, though. It's kind of actually, well, I was listening to that. I was looking at the picture of Lord of Blades. So rarely do you get a good kind of look at the boss monsters. Because if you're the tank, you're standing right under them. You can't really see them that well. And everybody else is running around. Got something busy to do, so you don't get to stop and kind of bask in the glory of the cool model. So it's kind of fun to take a look at them. All right, let's go on to the sort of what you've been doing section. Let's start with Jeff.
Spent a lot of time taking pictures of dragons, actually. And it's not as easy as you might think. Some of them are shy and only come out like one every 4 or 5 instances of the wilderness area where they're at, and are also inconveniently placed well to the back of it. So, yeah, there was a whole lot of that, and running challenges and so forth, but and I've also been making a little bit of progress on my epic monk wizard. So she's working her way up the Grand Master of Flowers chain and is really enjoying that. Hopefully she'll get a little bit more attention next week.
Cool. How about you, darling?
Mostly running with the guild, trying to get my Purple Dragon Knight favor, so that's been working out quite nicely. Oh yeah, and running on my TR, trying to get more XP on her so that she can take another life when she hits 20. So, other than that, just running random quests, enjoying myself, having fun.
Yeah, pretty much same here as far as random quests. Played that TR a little bit, but it's still a slow grind on the second TR. And originally I was going to do the whole completionist thing, but now I'm not so sure. I've got the heart for it since there's a lot more stuff to do with my level 20 characters. So I don't know. We'll see how that goes. I don't want to leave Curzon as a Warforged, though, so he'll at least do one more life, but I'm just not sure. I'll have to think about it. What else? I've been doing the ice skating to get my bear and got her polar bear.
Oh yeah, I got my bear.
My high score so far skating is 1,006 points, which good. I think, yeah, it's pretty good. It gives you, 300 motes or something around that. So not bad. Get a little lucky with that one. Normally I'm just in the sort of 700s. It seems to be what I average now that I've gotten pretty good at it. Although Anne noticed that you can actually kind of skate backwards and the things will respawn at the beginning. So if you don't bother finishing the race, sometimes you can get as many or more points by going back and recollecting things. If you had some good ones at the beginning with double points and stuff like that, you go back and scoop them up a second time. Kind of cool.
Yeah, if I'll notice that there's more double points out there, the shiny ones, with a bunch of the jump ones, I'll just go back and not even finish and just keep on using those to get the purple ones.
Yeah. Yeah, having done it a bit, I'd say the double point thing is the most sort of important aspect of collecting points in that. It just, you want to hit them when you've got some higher value targets or density of snowflakes available. Sometimes you'll skip it on the first pass to kind of, go pick up some junk and then scout around where you can go to best take advantage of the double, and then on the swing back through, hit that, or save a double for the very end of the race so that you can cross the finish line and get the extra double 100 points from finishing, that kind of thing. So that seems to be the key to getting lots of points. I've actually come to sort of enjoy it. It's kind of mindless, but it's also vaguely fun. It only takes about 2-3 minutes to do it, so I kind of like that thing.
Yep.
Cool. Well, I think that's about it for what we've been doing. I finished my XCOM Enemy Unknown action, so I think I've retired that game. But, I finished it on Iron Man on the classic difficulty, which is definitely pretty challenging. So
golf clap for the Iron Man completion.
I entered it into my log of games that I have successfully won and moved on with my life. So, but that was a lot of fun. Let's do community news. Got a little bit of that. Satyron has created a program that gives you an idea of what kind of damage you can expect to take in the game. What you do is you download the program, you manually enter your character stats like their armor class, information about their healing amplification and damage reduction and all that kind of stuff. And then you put in information about monsters, so a given level, that sort of thing, how much damage it typically does on a hit, how often it attacks, and so on and so forth. So you kind of have to collect a whole bunch of data, but you put it all in there, and then it gives you all these statistics about, after 100 swings, how much damage will you take, and how much healing, what kind of healing do you need to kind of sustain your hit points over a given level of time, and how often will you need to be healed, and things like that. It's pretty interesting. And just, people eyeballing it feel like the numbers it gives are pretty accurate gauge. So if you know your character and you kind of know you want to find out what sort of monsters you can handle, you put them in there and find out. So kind of an interesting tool, one we haven't seen before. PGS Techie, aka Shamgar, continues his building block series. He's talking about microphones currently. He's in number 22. He's talking about mic pickup patterns, which is kind of interesting. And I learned about cardiac mics, which I didn't know before, because they have a heart-shaped pickup pattern. And definitely interesting stuff. Chronicle comment was, if you could have an item named after you, what kind would it be and what powers would it have? I guess I'll go first to give other people time to think. Let's see now. If I could name it after me, it would be the Trentotron. Yes, it would be an artificer item, and it would multitask a lot and be interested in many different things all at the same time. So its powers would be slightly random. They'd always be pretty good, but they'd always be changing. So for now, it's increasing your weapon damage, and then suddenly it's like, no, you want to cast spells now, and then it gives you a big spell boost. So yeah, it alerts you to when to switch tactics. So yeah, that, or it would let you multi-class on the fly. So you're just like, yeah, oh yeah, hey, I'm gonna be a druid. You're a druid. Congratulations. I don't know. Something like that. It would be a very strange and hard to use item that I would love and everyone else would think is junk. How about you, Jeff?
Mine would be a halfling commando, and it's a figurine that when you deploy it, it summons a little halfling ranger that aggroes every single monster on the map and kites them in this circle for 60 seconds, shooting backwards, doing 1d6 at a time, bang, plink, 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 all the while spouting out jokes written with the most inappropriate sense of humor.
Excellent. That is a great magic item. How about you, darling?
Oh, I would definitely want a +7 socks of comfort and rejuvenation. It absorbs coldness, so and converts it into mana points or hit points, and then also it's a clicky, so it rejuvenates you up to 100, so it basically never wears down. So so it has a clicky of 100 times, and also it gives you death block, so you never get fingered to death. So
cool. And call them Anne's Fuzzy Footies.
Yeah, Anne's Fuzzy Footies. Oh yeah, nice. And they also they make your feet glide on a cushion of air, giving you a +50% speed bonus.
Oh wow!
Temporary jet flight.
Wow, I think nobody wants Jeff's or my item, but everyone's going to want Anne's Fuzzy Footies. I think ours might qualify as cursed items, actually. Let's see. Turbine's got a new community video up. Their community update videos, I think they call them. In there, they talk about they've got some new desktop calendars, 3 desktop calendars for the year. So that's like a wallpaper with some calendar stuff printed on it, so you can see what day of the week it is, and of course, DDO images on them. Also, there's a new DDO Mac client that you can beta test. It's not quite ready for full release yet, but if you're on a Mac, you can play the game, and you can now connect to the main game rather than only to Lamania as you could before. So that's pretty neat. Basically, it means you can play it on the Mac. You just can't guarantee to be bug-free, or, well, the normal level of bug-free. And we wanted to remind everybody that Marcy Rockwell's books are out on audio. She's got 2 DDO novels and 1 Eberron novel that you can get on the audio version. The other day we were doing ice games and listening to the Shard Axe on audio, which is very nice. It's good reading. It's got the person they chose to do it has a great voice for the main character, which is cool because it's pretty focused on the main character. So I thought it was really nice. well done. And if you haven't gotten around to reading them, why not get them on audiobook? You might pay a little bit more, but you can play DDO and listen to a good story at the same time, which I would say is awesomeness. So
yes, it's
highly recommended.
It's less than $20, so
yeah, good deal. And yeah, it's good for quite a lot of DDO playing, in fact.
Mm-hmm.
Where did you get them, by the way?
I got them at audible.com.
Okay, cool. Other gaming news, we've got D&D slot machines. This is something Cordovan tipped us off to, and I thought I would read the manufacturer's description of the DDO slot machine here. So I got an announcer voice. So here's a slot game that will allow many to relive their childhood. The Dungeons & Dragons 5-reel, 20-playline game with theme from the classic role-playing game. Just as in the traditional version, players can choose their hero symbol from one of 3 characters with the option of switching heroes during the game. Gothic-style letters and numbers are used to represent various characters, including the chosen hero, the Red Dragon, the D&D symbol, and the dragon's eye in a crystal ball, which doubles up the wild symbol in number 5, which can activate 12 500 coin jackpot. So that's the Dungeons & Dragons, what's it called? Crystal Caverns, Here There Be Riches slot machine video games. So it's a video slot game. And, yeah, you can spend your money and not get it back. Or maybe get some back. I don't know. Apparently not available online for Americans as of yet. So if you...
who gets it?
Well, they have it in the casinos. So there was actually a list of casinos where you can go play the game, and but apparently a lot of video slots you can play online, either for free without gambling, or just to try them out, or you can play them gambling style if you don't live in the U.S., where there are various gambling laws. So kind of interesting. I don't know a lot about video slot machines. I'm not really into that sort of thing, but I thought that they were pretty funny. Choose your character.
Oh, he's muted. You're muted, Jeff.
Oh. I'm like this. I'm doing every sound thing wrong that one can do today. But anyway,
so it goes.
Regarding video, I used to work for a company that built these kind of things, and the only thing more fun than playing video slots of any kind is playing parking meter. Yeah. So if you feel the need, just go downtown, put some, start feeding your parking meter. You'll have every bit as good a time, and there's less crowds.
Actually, it's funny. Up in Alaska for a while, they got this. The government hired a contractor to do the parking meters, and they were called like the Anchorage Parking Authority or something. And they were also known as the parking Nazis because they were, had a profit motive. So they were vicious about pulling your car as soon as humanly possible, sticking a boot on there, and extorting some money from you. And so a local gas station / garage started having their guys dress up in little like fairy tutu outfits with little magic wands, and they would go around and put coins in people's meters and stuff to save them from the parking Nazis. And then, they passed like an ordinance that you couldn't actually do that with anybody else's parking meters. And there was this whole kerfuffle of the parking fairies versus the parking Nazis. And it made for some great, local news coverage and whatnot. But
and it sounds way more fun than video slot machines.
Yeah, indeed. Those things kind of get me. Yeah, there was an online video of it too, and it looked a little like Bejeweled, like it would pop down a bunch of things, and then there would be a combo, and then other stuff would fall down. But of course, you're not doing any of it. You're just watching it happen. You're like, man, that computer
put the coin in, push the button.
Yeah, except it depends, because if you get the deluxe machines, they have a way that it'll push the button for you, and all you do is sit there and watch.
Oh my god!
Oh my god! That's so bad. Are those the epic machines?
Wow. Yeah, epic level video slots.
I mean, that's sad, isn't it? I mean, the button was because pulling the arm was too hard, right? And then now they have a button to push the button for you. I think you should just go in and hand them $100 and say, "Tell me how much fun I had."
Yeah. Wow, that sure was great. I want to be the wizard. Dang. All right. Well, I think that's probably a pretty good note to go out on. So that'll be it for today's show. Big thanks to producer Ann and to Jeff for joining us today. Big thanks to all the DDOcast contributors. Thanks to Shamgar, of course, and our many fine listeners, folks in the chat room, and Turbine and Wizards for making fun games we like to play. If you want to be a part of the show, you can leave us a voicemail on the toll-free Yark line at 1-855-DDO-YARK. That's 1-855-336-9275, or email us at ddocast@gmail.com. Give us something to say on the air, take a request, join in on the show as a guest, or be a part of the DDOcast legacy by making us a cool piece of audio to play on the program. And so that's it. We're going out with a little bit more juiced up DDO puzzle music.